All right, welcome to Inside Gateway. Today is Wednesday, and we are pleased to have Joe Beer with us today. Joe, what are you doing currently at Gateway Woods?
Right now I am helping out in the school, kind of as a teacher's aide. So as teachers need to step out of class, take over class for them, I teach a devotion class in the morning. Just help with the overall supervision of the kids. Do lunch duty there as well. Yeah.
So, a hall monitor, but
Sure.
kind of go in there a little bit more. So,
yeah, exactly.
very good.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get a cool badge for that job?
I did. I got one yesterday. Compliments of probably John Ringer. Yeah. So
Sounds good.
Got my tag.
So, when did you first, let's rewind, when did you first hear about Gateway Woods? Even maybe before you were house parents, we'll get into that. But
Sure.
first exposure.
Yeah. So I gave my heart to Christ in 1994,
Okay.
and that fall I came out for this Gateway auction they talked about. I'd never been to Gateway, and I remember buying an oil painting by a relative of mine, Henry Beer.
Okay.
Which I had for a long time, and I was actually able to give it to someone in his family here recently, so that was really neat.
Nice.
So after that, I didn't really have any exposure. I did come out when the Cypress House was being built.
Okay.
I was in carpenter business, so I helped put the kitchen cabinets and the countertop and the apartment cabinets in. And then other than that, really not much exposure. My wife had volunteered out here for a week during college. But then in the fall of 2007, we were just praying about a couple different things that were kind of heavy and big in our life. And just remember one morning come down early and praying, just asking God for direction. I hadn't felt any direction all that summer. And he spoke to me, why not Gateway? And I said to him, I'm not even talking about Gateway. But we pursued that, we prayed about it, talked with Ed Graff, and eventually that next spring we became house parents.
So, Cypress, was in 2006 then, the year before, or the
Yeah,
same
I'm not
year?
really great with dates, but probably 06 would be about right. 05, 06, I probably came out and helped. It was a winter, I remember that.
Okay.
And so I had some
I
exposure.
think it opened in 2007, so it was probably winter
Probably
2006.
2006,
And then you came out spring or summer 2007?
We came out Mother's Day of 08.
Okay.
Yeah, so the 07 falls when I kind of prayed about it.
Sure.
Or maybe it was even that winter time too. I'm not really good with dates, but
Okay.
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Planting seeds, that's what we like to do, obviously, here at Gateway, and it's pretty cool when God plants seeds into ours. So for me, it was a number of people. It was John Gerst, Jason Huber, and then just volunteering as well through the years, being from Bluffton, but just little things. It's very rarely just the one thing. It's like causes us to go become house parents or whatever it is.
Yeah.
A lot of little things, so that's good.
Yeah. And I know we had 3 young kids at the time, and we had been wanted to be involved in some sort of a ministry. We didn't know what it looked like. So when God presented this to us as we got into it, we felt it was a really good way to be used. And so, as we came, we heard a lot of times, well, you're going to learn more than the kids will. And you kind of like, well, I think I'm coming here for them. And then you realize very quickly that is true. You get taught a lot, very humbled a lot. But it's been a great place to serve, for sure.
Speaking of your kids, we just had somebody ask how many kids do you have, and then how has Gateway affected them?
That's a great question. So we have 3 children. Hannah is our oldest at 21. She is the secretary here at Gateway Woods. Cooper is in college down in South Carolina. He is soon to be 20. And Connor graduated high school and is working full time. Connor is 18. The effect on them, we did get that question a lot when we first came. And it was mostly from...
So how old would they have been when you came?
Yeah, dates again, right? Yeah, let's do some quick math here. So Hannah was born 97. If I get her, I get the rest of it. She would have been
10 or 11.
Yeah, she would have been close to 11. Yeah, she would have been 11. So basically 11, 9, and 7.
Okay.
And we did get that. Is this going to be hard on your kids? You know, are they going to be safe? They're going to see things probably they wouldn't have seen. And we definitely went into it with open eyes, with a lot of prayer and concern. However, it was our kids responding to us within the first few years that really helped me and encouraged me. And it was, they mentioned things like, we have seen some things that kids have done behavior-wise, and we've seen the consequence of it. And so we've been able to see sin, and we've been able to see the consequence of that, and how they can be restored as well. So yeah, they definitely made mention of, like, that's not something I want to be doing on a consistent basis. So I feel like they saw that pattern, and it was good for them to see that, I believe. And yeah, and as far as safety, I never really felt like they were not safe. So and what kid wouldn't want a place like this to grow up?
Sure, yeah.
You know, with the playgrounds and the woods and the basketball courts and the pond, and kids mentioned that many times. So yeah, good experience.
Yeah, we often talk about the community, mainly for us as the parents, but the kids have an incredible community. We hashtag it HP Kid Life, and it's amazing to see. And I have an opportunity to look out my window, and it's pretty much ground level with the campus. And so if I can see, sometimes you'll just see kids running by or on a gator or scooters, whatever. It's just, they're having the time of their life. And they have no idea, especially the young ones, the stress level that this place holds. But that's the beauty of it. It's like that innocence of a child, and seeing the gospel is at full work here. And they're a part of it, but they don't realize it. And a lot of times our kids were very therapeutic for the residents as well. Our little babies to toddlers to whatever. It's just amazing. So the whole family works together. So it isn't just us as the parents.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see that until you're actually there, and maybe even looking back.
Sure. Yeah, and I'd also add to that that the job does have stress. It does have demands. It can be difficult at times. However, coming from a regular job, working 50 hours a week, and having travel time, to come to this and know that I was going to have more chance to be exposed to my own children and my own family and have more family time has been a great benefit of being here.
You guys homeschooled too, right?
We did, yeah. So we had that aspect as well.
So
Heather did. let's put credit where credit needs to be due.
I was going to ask if you helped more with homeschool because you were house parents, or if it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I would say I helped on the behavior end, the physical education end, some music, some homework, but no, my wife gets a lot of credit for bringing up our kids, educating our kids. So I definitely want to put credit where credit's due.
She's pretty
very
cool.
thankful for that.
yeah, she's all right. So you're homeschooling, because a lot of times the homeschooling is for the alternates, but when you were lead, you were still homeschooling?
Correct.
Okay. Was that a challenge because of the time demand is a lot more for your, obviously as your family with the leads?
Yeah, what it does is you have to be really intentional with your time. Because some people look at homeschooling as like, hey, you can kind of get up whenever I want to, do school in my pajamas. That did happen a lot. I've got some great memories of our kids being in front of the fireplace, you know, whether it's through literature or math or science. And so you still have that aspect, but because your time with your family has shrunk a little bit, a lot of times 8 in the morning till noon, and then there's demands throughout the afternoon and evening, that is kind of crunched. But my wife is very good at that. Very good at time management. Something that once you make a habit of it, it becomes pretty easy. So.
Good. Yeah, because it's a challenge. I mean, obviously, we're looking for house parents pretty much on a regular basis, and people are coming from different perspectives. It's like, hey, no, I want to send my kids to school, or I want to homeschool, and I want to just say to everyone, both options are great, because the school systems around here are very strong, very good, because some of your kids then went to the public school, right?
Our residents did, but not our kids.
Okay.
Our own kids did at some earlier ages until we decided to go homeschool. And I would say to that too, there's going to be pros and cons to both.
Yeah.
it really comes down to what works most effectively for your family. And sometimes you might find out a year or two into it, we need to make a switch. But you have opportunity to do that and talk amongst yourselves. But yeah, definitely both sides to it. But what works best for your family is
very
definitely
good.
yeah.
Options. We love our options. So. All right. So you were at which house then when you guys came out?
We came out in.
You don't have to give me the dates.
Yeah, thanks for that. Let's say winter of '08. I think it was February or March, and we stayed a day or night with Nathan and Rachel Mueller.
Okay.
They were making the transition to taking over Maple from Jason Joy Kilgus. So we came out and spent a weekend with them and their house full of, at that time it was all girls.
Okay.
Has switched to co-ed. And so, yeah, it was that ride back home that we both knew that this is what we wanted to be a part of. And so we worked under Nathan and Rachel Mueller with Rachel Huber at the time, who's Klopfenstein now. And so we were a team together, and then Rachel got married and Lisa Zagman came in.
Okay.
So we worked together, and then I think around 2010, the Pine House needed a new set of full-time house parents, so then we moved there in 2010, and we worked there until 2013.
Okay. Yeah, I remember every Christmas or whatever we have a gateway party for the staff, and you guys were going out and we were coming in, and so it was kind of neat. And one quote that I say a lot that you said is, and I'm going to butcher it, but basically to the point, it's like, we worked here 5 years, I think that's what you said, but it feels a lot longer than that. And the reason to that, and I can personally testify, is there's so much that happens. You use so many people, and it's like when you deal with your kids, you get used to them because you're with them every day. But then when you have, let's just say the shelf life of a resident is 6 to 18 months, and then a new batch comes in, I call them generations. And so then a couple generations of residents could go past, and you're just like, what happened? But it was only a year ago.
Right.
A whole new house. And it's just like, our brains can't quite grasp that.
Yeah.
And so that always stuck with me that you just said, it's like, it's only been 5 years, but it feels a lot longer than that. And so lots of memories are happening.
Exactly. Lots of memories, lots of experiences that we pack into those days and each and every day.
Very good. So any fun memory or something that really has stuck with you today from your house parenting time?
Oh, fun memories. Yeah, I mean, in the midst of working on treatment and counseling and difficult times, there is fun that we have. Boy, I should have been prepared. There's so many. I'm trying to think how many are appropriate. They should all be appropriate, right?
Let's go with the house trip. So what was one of your favorite house trips? Because those are always fun memories. Something that you guys did.
Yeah, hands down our best was when we were during a time of we were really watching budgets here, and so I had called out to a church that I used to attend, Heather and I used to attend when we were newly married, and asked if they would be willing to try to raise any money for our house trip. Not only did they do that, we drove out there on their Wednesday night VBS night, and so the entire church, the ones that helped donate, got to see these kids and talk with these kids. That was really great. And then we stayed at a pond of a family that I used to work for. My wife might have mentioned this when she was on Facebook Live, but it was a fantastic memory. So at night we had the girls sleep on, there's a big pond in the house with the hosts, and then I took the guys and my sons, and we slept in I don't remember, it was kind of like a cabin, but not exactly. It's kind of like it was almost like a trailer. Schoolhouse of some sort that they had brought in on wheels. And we just had a lot of fun there. We had kids swimming that had never swam before. They had a zip line over the pond. Us boys stayed up late that night playing a game around. It was a full moon. Just, great memories. We went out to eat at some restaurants, and it was just neat seeing these kids get outside of all they ever knew was maybe Fort Wayne, or maybe just South Bend, or, ask them, like, where have you been? I haven't really been anywhere before.
Right.
So just being able to expand that to allow them to have new experiences was really good. So yeah, I would say that was That was probably that. I will share a memory. Now I'm thinking about it. We had a boy in our house that went from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. He always wanted to learn something new, and he was very intelligent, but he was wanting to raise crickets. And so I gave him the go-ahead to breed crickets. So the reason he wanted to grow crickets is to feed his lizard that was in the tank.
Okay.
In our terrarium he got from Miss Zimmy, I believe. It's a big black lizard. So he was breeding crickets so he could feed them to his lizards, save money. And then he bought another lizard at what's the pet store? PetSmart. So he put it in with his other lizard. And I'm like, yeah, it'll probably be fine. Sunday afternoon comes, they go back for quiet time after church. He comes back out and he walks over to her room and I hear this, oh! And he picks up just the tail of the lizard. That's all it's like.
Oh no! Of the old one or the new one?
Of the new one.
Oh man.
Had a 7-day warranty on it. So we went back to the store. Yeah, fun memory. Yeah. We did have some fun memories.
Wow.
I think you'd remember that. I've asked him. I still stay in touch with him. So. Yeah.
Abby Schumacher says, hi, Joe.
Hey, hi, Abby. You did great on Facebook Live, by the way.
So, yeah, as always, if you have questions from the field, please chime in. So house parenting, that has obviously probably paved you a little bit and give you a lot of perspective on the job that you're at now, but there was a time and a gap in between. So how quick was it to shorten that gap and remember, oh, this is what it's like?
Yeah. It came back pretty quick. I think the main thing is the principle is that we are not just trying to set rules. We're not just trying to be authoritarian, but the main purpose is to know that behavior of the heart. So when we know that and when we see a behavior, I feel like it's somewhat, it comes back almost like riding a bike, like, okay, we're not here just to say, you need to do this. What is the reason that you did this? What was the cause of it? And how could you do this better next time? And here's some consequences to help you through that, to help you see like you could have a change next time and try to get to the heart level. So I felt like it came back pretty quick. Not that I do a great job of it, but also watching the other teachers go through confrontations with kids is very, very, very helpful. Got a great school staff. Yeah.
Good. And we're looking for some more. So if you want to be a teacher, we have a couple needs, specifically in math and English. So keep praying for that. And if you're willing to come out and kick the tires on teaching, call us today. So Joe, I see your cast there. It's definitely a lot softer than the one that you had on a couple weeks ago. Can you explain a little bit how your recovery is going for those that maybe don't even know the whole situation?
Sure. Yeah, so I was involved in a car accident with 2 other brothers from church, and we're all 3 in various levels of recovery right now. I'm probably the most mobile at this point until I have surgery on my knee for some torn ligaments, but I went for my first hand therapy appointment today. So I felt like I received a lot of positive encouragement from my therapist that she feels like these fingers that aren't moving, we're going to get them to move again. So I was really encouraged, but now is the discipline of doing exercises many times a day, which the other brothers that are recovering, none of us are fond of the discipline, but we're also looking forward to being healthy again. So we have so much to be thankful for. It could have been so much worse. And it's just a great opportunity to thank God for the health He has given us and where we're at.
So, explain, you mentioned to me that surgery is kind of groundbreaking. I mean, have you talked with that surgeon? Is he pretty excited with the results at this point?
Yeah, and actually at my therapy appointment this morning, there was a 3-page report on everything he did. And throughout it, he was, as he'd do a part of the surgery, this was extremely successful, or I'm extremely encouraged how this looks when I went in there. So, yeah, I would say I'm at a better spot now than I was when he saw the MRI.
Okay.
Which that was a rough day. But yeah, I'd say we're at a really good point. In probably 2 or 3 weeks, we'll know how much mobility and strength I will have.
Okay.
But we're just starting. And in fact, when I met my therapist today, she asked if I'm working. I said I'm working at the Gateway Woods School, and she said, I've heard of that. And I said, oh, how do you know that? She goes, our closest friends have a girl that went there years ago. Pivotal part of her life, it changed her life, and she's now a successful mom of 3 kids and has a wonderful marriage. And I said, that is fantastic to hear. And I said, do you mind sharing the name? I thought there's probably not a chance I'll know, but if it was, a while ago, she mentioned the name and she was in our house.
Oh, wow.
And it was just, and so for her to know that this lady got to have contact with a house parent and that we could talk through a little bit, it was just really encouraging. Because like you said, we plant seeds and we don't know how it's going to turn out. That's not our spot. God does that. But it was just neat to have had contact with this girl many years ago and to know that there was something that came out of it that really blessed her life. So.
Wow, that's awesome.
Chiming into that, Abby Schumacher would like to know, what do you feel was the greatest lesson God taught you through your experience as a house parent?
A lot of them. So probably the greatest was what I just touched on. I know I came with the thought the first few months that my wife and I are going to change lives. But I think that comes from a mentality of a work ethic of you check boxes and you do certain things and you expect results from it. And it was early on. I was humbled at the point of tears as I realized that it has nothing to do with me. I'm to be a vessel. I'm to be the conduit for him. I'm to be the one that needs to be the servant. And so thankfully that lesson was taught to me early and not later, and I hope I grew from that. But yeah, I would say that was one of the greatest lessons. Yeah.
Very good. So as a former house parent and now as a school staff, what would you say to somebody that's kind of on the fence of either wanting to be a house parent, wanting to be an assistant, or wanting to be a teacher here at Gateway? What would you give them as advice or encouragement to take the first step?
Yeah. First step definitely would be to call. I mean, there is great counsel here to anybody that is just willing to ask questions. On a spiritual side, if you're on the fence and God is telling you to do something, you just get a lot of splinters staying on the fence. So I would definitely encourage you to take the next step if you know God is calling you to something, to not to sit there. My issue for that whole summer of praying was I was getting no response.
Sure.
But when God gave a clear path, I felt like I would be doing him a disservice to not do anything. So yeah, definitely calling in and talking to people and walking the campus and meeting with administrators. It's a great first step.
Yeah.
Also, if they have any connection to people that are here, just to be willing to call them. I do know that before we took this job, I talked to Jason Kilgus, who was the lead house parent at Maple House. I knew him just enough that I felt comfortable calling him, and we had probably an hour conversation on the phone. It was very eye-opening. He didn't try to beat around it. He just let me know what it was about, and that was really important for us as a family, moving from an entire different state.
Sure.
Our whole livelihood come to something like this. So I really appreciated that.
Yeah, and I think even more than that, the community around here is very supportive of Gateway Woods.
For
and
sure.
You're not alone. I mean, there's been a lot of former house parents, former teachers that still go to church at Leo Church, and so there is that community, that support group, because we talked about the stress. I mean, with any job there's stress, there's different levels of stress, but it's just nice to know that you're not alone when you're facing a problem or a challenge. That's good. And I think a lot of times too, we hosted people for like a meal. I mean, just no strings attached. They just wanted to see what it was like, and that was kind of fun. And you got to get an idea. The residents usually are on their best behavior, but
yeah, sure.
It's okay.
Yeah, we'll take it.
It's a lot of fun. So, yeah, again, we just encourage you to pray. There's always opportunities here at Gateway to volunteer or to support through, obviously, financially, but most of all, we need your prayerful support. And we do have some openings. So just at least pray for that. Is there anything else you want to add? I mean, I have some more questions for you, but go ahead.
No, I don't think I do.
Okay. So Heather asked me, do you have a curveball question for Joe? And I was like, well, I was going to flip the coin because I asked her, tell me something about Joe. And so she did. I don't know if you remember that.
Do. Cat was out of the bag. Yeah, I was not expecting that. That's okay.
So you could
Ooh.
do a little
Back on my wife.
on that, or you could give us a little sample of your passion there that we talked about weeks ago. I can bring it up again if you want me to.
I think that's, well, we put that one to bed a long time ago. So.
Okay, so my last question is, what was the most challenging job that you ever had? Like, from little on up. I'm just curious.
Before Gateway?
Yeah, it seems like you've done, or anything. It could be Gateway. What was like the hardest job that you ever did? You're a man of that entrepreneurial spirit. You're always doing stuff.
Yeah, I did have a lot of jobs through high school. The hardest one was probably not physical. So I had a fear of heights growing up. And I thought, what better way to overcome a fear of heights than taking a job where you got to climb high? So I took a job with a tower company where we built 400-foot towers.
Oh, wow.
And I had to climb it. So that was probably the most difficult to overcome. It was not the best on my parents. I was unconverted at the time. But yeah, it did help me overcome my fear of heights. I would say that's probably the number one.
Very good.
I farmed. I raised hogs for 10 years. Really enjoyed that. Then I went into carpentry after that. But yeah, I would say that was probably the hardest.
Very good. Any other questions from the field?
No.
So, all right. Well, I've enjoyed this time, Joe. Thanks for coming and spending time with us on Inside Gateway.
I would like to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
Thank you. What do you, as you give these interviews, I didn't have this prepared anyway, sorry, I'm just trying to think of how I want to word this. What's the thing that you enjoy the most about these interviews?
Yeah. My biggest takeaway, my biggest joy, obviously, is just really, honestly, I don't prepare at all. And so I just kind of I let the conversation go, and I just kind of ask the questions, and it's just nice. It's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
It's somebody dubbed it, I love your fireside chats.
You need to start wearing the vest with the
but so I love that. So it's just there is real no agenda other than the fact like we're just trying to get to know, and as we call it, getting behind the curtain. Because Gateway is very big, and unfortunately, the people that we work with through different HIPAA, various restrictions that we have, we cannot showcase our clients. So, but there's a lot of people behind the scenes that are working, whether that's in the trenches or in the office doing whatever. It's just nice to know. And I remember a long time ago, Brittany, who's no longer here, but Brittany Eisman, talked about breaking down silos. And I think this is an opportunity to break down the silos because for me, I could sit in my little man cave, if you will, and work away. And there's people just down the hall, but I don't know what they're doing. So this is an opportunity to get to know each other and break down those silos to see we're all part of what God's doing here.
Yeah.
And so I have that unique opportunity to just get a one-on-one.
Yeah.
So that's what I love. So.
That is good. Very well said.
Yeah, I think that's all we have, but thanks again. And I'm not sure who we're going to have next week. It's a new month, but we will keep doing this as much as we can, and we appreciate your support. So join us next Wednesday at 12:30.